What's up, family, friends, and fellow movie lovers? Jeffrey Michael here, and welcome to a Bohemian edition of Jeffrey Michael's Movie Reviews Extravaganza. It's the beginning of the holiday movie season, you guys. Yay, I'm so excited. Hope you all are too. All those movies we were anticipating are coming out soon. Everything from Fantastic Beasts 2 to Ralph Breaks the Internet to Mary Poppins Returns, Aquaman, they're all coming out. And let's not waste any time. Let's start with the very first weekend of the holiday movie season. In this video, I'll be reviewing the movies that were released on November the 2nd, 2018. Okay, the first movie that I'll review for you is The Nutcracker and the Four Realms, rated PG. It stars Mackenzie Foy, Keira Knightley, Misty Copeland, Helen Mirren, and Morgan Freeman, and was directed by Lasse Hallström, who brought you such films like Chocolat, The Shipping News, and The 100-Foot Journey. And there was also another director who handled the reshoots of this movie, and that was Joe Johnston, who brought you such films like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Jumanji, and Captain America: The First Avenger. Now, The Nutcracker and the Four Realms is based on the classic short story by E.T.A. Hoffmann, The Nutcracker and the Mouse King. And the movie was also based on the classic ballet that was made famous by the music by Tchaikovsky. So this version of The Nutcracker is set in Victorian London on Christmas Eve. We're introduced to the Stahlbaum family. There's the patriarch, Mr. Stahlbaum, and his three children. But we find out they're all rather sad on this particular Christmas, because in the previous year, they lost their mother, Marie Stahlbaum. Fans of the short story recognize that name. And they don't know how to celebrate this Christmas now their mother is gone. Then they find out that their mother had a dying wish to leave special presents for them on Christmas Eve. And so they open up their presents, and the youngest daughter, Clara, played by Mackenzie Foy, finds out that her present is a handcrafted egg-shaped box with a keyhole. But there's no key. Instead, there's a note that says, from her mother, that says, "Everything you'll ever need, Clara, is in this box." What? Everything I'll ever need is in this box? And you left no key? What the hell? She doesn't actually say that, but you get the idea. So after opening their presents, they all go to a Christmas Eve ball that's hosted by their godfather, Drosselmeyer, played by Morgan Freeman. You know, he's a skilled clockmaker and engineer. And when they get to the party, we find out when she's talking to Drosselmeyer, the audience learns that Clara also has skills at engineering too. And turns out Drosselmeyer made that box years ago for her mother, Marie, who planned to give it to her daughter one day. And she wonders, where's the key? Oh, I think you'll find it sooner than you think. And so there's a game that they all play that Drosselmeyer set up where each kid gets a present at the end of a long string that goes throughout the house. So Claire finds a string with her name on it and follows her string through many corridors throughout the house, many hallways, and it finally dead ends at a strange opening. She goes through that opening of the house and finds herself in a brand new land completely separate from this reality. Very Chronicles of Narnia, if you get my drift. And it's inside this land that she finds the key! But when she goes to grab the key, a mouse jumps up and grabs it and runs away with it. Hey, come back with that! And as she runs through the land, the snow-covered land, she comes across a nutcracker, like a fully, large-sized nutcracker. And she finds out his name is Philip Hoffman. Excuse me, help me get that key. Oh, you can't go into that land. Help me get the key. Okay, I'll help you. So they run into this deserted land that's desecrated. And then they find that the key was taken by the Mouse King, who is working for Mother Ginger, played by Helen Mirren, the film's antagonist. And it's no sooner they reach this realm that's desecrated, they see Mother Ginger's giant circus tent and her cronies trying to get them. They run away just in time. And they get to this castle that's in the very center of this realm. And it's there that the Clara and the Nutcracker are introduced to the three regents. There's the Sugar Plum Fairy, played by Keira Knightley. She's the regent from the realm of sweets. And then there's Hawthorne. He's the regent from the land of flowers. And there's Shiver, who's the regent from the land of snowflakes. And these three realms have been coexisted harmoniously for years. And we find out that the fourth realm, the land of amusements, that Mother Ginger rules, they're at war with her. We don't know why yet. And so they need Clara's help. It turns out that her mother Marie came to this land and created it years ago, and she became their queen. And one day Clara would come and take her place as queen of this land. And Marie also created a machine that would turn toys into real life people. So they all start off as toys, all these people. And so they need her help, Clara. See, that key that was taken also powers this machine, and they can use it to turn toy soldiers into real soldiers, that they can use an army to take on Mother Ginger and defeat her once and for all. So they need Clara to go into this land and find that, and to risk her life to take on Mother Ginger and get that key back. And Clara also wants that key back so she can finally open that box and find out what she actually needs all this time from her mother. Very sad stuff and emotional. Now, for my review, I will say this is not the best version of the Nutcracker I've ever seen, but I will say it's probably the most auspicious. I mean, the set direction and the set design, the costumes, the cinematography, it's all gorgeous. Oh my gosh, it has this Christmas feel to it that just wants to warm your heart and bring joy to you. I just wish the rest of the movie was as good as the whole visual style of the movie, because the substance is very lacking. Let's start with the positives, though. The acting is great from everyone. Mackenzie Foy does a good job carrying this movie since she's the main character on her shoulders. And of course, Helen Mirren, Morgan Freeman, Keira Knightley, they all do their part. And Keira Knightley, a lot of people don't like her voice, but I liked it. It's this sweet, really high-pitched, sugary voice. I think it's perfect for a sugar plum fairy, don't you? I think so. A lot of people don't, but apparently. And unfortunately, though, each of the characters are very underwritten, and there is very lack of character development from a lot of them. And also a lot of things for a movie that's set in another realm. You'd think there'd be a long runtime, but it's only 100 minutes. So a lot of the scenes were rushed through. Like there's a scene in the center of the movie where Clara is watching a performance by Misty Copeland. She's a ballerina, we all know, and she does a dance. That's the only time in the movie where it feels like the ballet, where she's dancing and interpreting the beginning of the whole Four Realms creation. And it's through a montage sequence. We see Clara visit each of the other three realms and the amount of time that it takes me to finish saying this sentence. So yeah, it goes by fast. So yeah, the pacing's fast, everything's rushed, and also, I mean, the story just feels lacking. Like, feels like a lot of the movie was reshot, which you can find out it was, because like I said earlier, Joe Johnston reshot a lot of the movie, and and I guess the final product is just, it's nice to look at, but it's just, not very exciting. And there's a third act plot twist that I was not really too pleased about. I think a lot of you will also think that, oh man, really? Overall, I would give this movie a C+. I mean, it's a little better than average, but it still could have been much better than it was. I mean, it's a feast for the eyes to look at, but story-wise, it needed a lot of work. And when you have great actors like Keira Knightley and you have Misty Copeland, a great dancer, doing a great performance, dancing, you wish that it would have been a better movie than it was, and it could have been. Would I recommend you all go see it? If you're really into the Nutcracker and you want to see a nicely visual movie, then sure, go ahead and see it if you want to, if you're a fan of Nutcracker, but I would recommend you don't. There's a lot of other great holiday movies coming out that are probably more worth your time. I mean, if you have to choose between going to see Nutcracker, like for the live, ballet, or this movie, I would say the ballet. It's probably more auspicious than this. Moving on. Why do I keep doing these movie reviews, you might ask? Well, I guess it's because of a crazy little thing called love. See what I did there? Well, you should, because the next movie that I'll review for you is Bohemian Rhapsody, rated PG-13. It stars Rami Malek, Lucy Boynton, Gwilym Lee, Ben Hardy, Joseph Mazzello, and Aaron McCusker, and was directed by Bryan Singer, who brought you such films like The Usual Suspects, X-Men, X2, X-Men Days of Future Past, and X-Men Apocalypse. A lot of X-Men films there. Now, Bohemian Rhapsody is, of course, a biopic about the late singer Freddie Mercury and the band Queen. I mean, come on, Who hasn't heard of Freddie Mercury or Queen by now? Even if you're not a fan of them, you must have heard of at least one of their songs. Come on, you guys. We will rock you, we are the champions. Neither one bites the dust. Is this the real life? Somebody to love. Who doesn't love at least one of those songs? I know I love all of them. I'm sure a lot of other people do too, but anyway. So Bohemian Rhapsody is the story of the life of Freddie Mercury in his time with the band Queen. The movie starts off with a framing device. It starts off with a Live Aid concert in 1985. It was one of the largest rock concerts of all time when many multiple music artists came together to perform for charity. And as the movie begins, we're introduced to Freddie Mercury, played with fabulousness and flamboyancy by Rami Malek. And as they're about to take the stage, we then flash back to the year 1970 when it all began. You see, back then, Freddie Mercury was known as Farooq Bulsara. He was an Indian-British Parsi college student who was also working as a baggage handler at Heathrow Airport. I never knew that, did you? And at the same time, he's living with his family, Parsi family, in London, and he's following a local band called Smile at a local nightclub. And it's in this band are his future band members. There's guitarist Brian May, played by Gwilym Lee, and drummer Roger Taylor, played by Ben Hardy. And their lead singer has just quit to join another band, and they're all distraught. And that's when Freddie Mercury comes in. Back then, he wanted to be called Freddie, even though he was known as Farouk. And he approaches them. Hey, I write some songs sometimes, and I can sing. Can I join your band? Sure, dude. And then, of course, in pure Freddie Mercury fashion, he belts out in front of them, and they're all, you're in, dude. And so then they get together, and not long after, they're joined by bass guitarist John Deacon, and they form the new band called Queen. And also at that time, Freddie Mercury, which became his new name, he met Mary Austin, played by Lucy Boynton. And she was basically, if you know Freddie Mercury's history, that was one of the two greatest loves of his life. In fact, probably the single greatest love of his life was Mary Austin. And it's not long that the Queen is starting to build momentum and steam and get a lot of attention and generate a lot of sales. And pretty soon they're forming their first a tour of America, and they're all excited. We're finally hitting it big, you guys. And as he's touring America with his band, Freddie Mercury starts to notice men along the way, and he unfortunately has affairs along the way too. And he wants to get engaged to Mary Austin, but then he has to confess to her, I think I may be bisexual. What? You mean you've been seeing other people? I'm sorry, dear. It's just too... I'm sorry. I don't see how this can work out. And so then they separate, and it's one of the biggest losses of his life. And the movie goes on, and we see how the band, who wanted to be unconventional, they wanted to be experimental, unlike all the other bands, and so they create all the greatest musical hits that we all know and love by now. The hit single, the title movie, Bohemian Rhapsody, which I didn't know at the time. Apparently, every critic scathed it. It was dismissed. It was slammed. I mean, wow! I didn't know get that many bad reviews, but it was a hit with the crowd. And throughout the movie, we see them form all the other songs. We Are the Champions, Another One Bites the Dust, Bicycle, and We Will Rock You, and every other song you know and love. And of course, with any biopic about rock musicians, there's the falling out that happens, and how all the tabloids want to know about Freddie Mercury. Hey, what's your sexuality? Who are you dating? It's I'm not answering any of that, thank you. And it's can we please focus on the band here, Queen? Everyone is all obsessed with Freddie Mercury, and at one point, the band, get wives and children, and he's all left alone, and he feels alone. He wishes he had someone like all of them, and at one point the band breaks up, and then there's a reconciliation, and then we all know what happens by now. Then it all comes to ahead to that Live Aid concert when they finally reunite and give the best concert of their lives. That's how the climax of the movie goes out. Now, I want to say that I loved this movie. Unfortunately, I thought it was good overall, and here's why. We'll start with the biggest positive. The MVP award goes to Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury. I mean, wow. I mean, he definitely deserves to be nominated for an Oscar this year, if not win. And here's why. I mean, he captures Freddie Mercury down to a T, from his, unpredictability. You never know what he's going to say or do next. And he has the prosthetic, overbite throughout the movie. And he has is able to capture his flamboyancy, then his fabulousness, and all his like what he's known for. He's all his moves on stage. He mimics those perfectly, especially when during the whole Live Aid rock concert at the end. He does it like damn, like matches up with the footage perfectly. I mean, he really is the best part of this whole movie. And here comes the con, if you will. I mean, as I told you, Queen is known for being, experimental and unconventional and, out of this world. And we expect a biopic about them to be just like that. Unfortunately, this is another by the numbers, predictable biopic. It goes through all the motions. The band's formation, they hit it big, they're riding it high, they break up, they reconcile, and I mean, there isn't really much here in terms of inventiveness, in terms of how they filmed this movie. And you can also tell that this movie had production problems because Bryan Singer was fired in the last month of filming because he had a lot of disputes with the cast and shouting matches, and he berated them, and finally he says, Fox, like, get out of here, we need someone else. So they brought in a replacement director, Dexter Fletcher, to finish the film and edit it together, even though Bryan Singer got sole credit for the movie. And so you can kind of tell this movie had some problems behind stage because the editing and the way it's put together feels, well, last minute. And I felt some things were rushed. Like Mary Austin, his relationship with Mary Austin was well done, but then the greatest love of his life, there was another one, Jim Hutton, who was played by Brian McCusker. I feel like that was too little too late at the end. The third act was kind of rushed, but it makes sense because, they didn't really have form their relationship until 1985, the same year as the Live Aid concert, which ends the film. So it makes sense, even though I kind of wish there was more focus on that. And I also wish there was more focus on Freddie Mercury as a person. I feel like it didn't quite capture like the real Freddie Mercury at times. Like the movie tries to say that he was ashamed of his background, his Parsi Indian roots, and that's why. But in real life, I don't think he wasn't actually ashamed of that at all. He just liked his name, Freddie Mercury, more. And there's a couple other parts of his life that was kind of inaccurate. Like he was diagnosed with AIDS like after the Live Aid concert, but in this movie it happens before that. And nope, not yet. And so overall, Rami Malek is the best part, and all the parts where they perform on stage are well done, especially the Live Aid climax. Oh my gosh, you just want to jump up and clap your hands and sing along with them, like you're part of the crowd back then in 1985. That's just how good it was. I just wish, though, it wasn't more than just a standard by-the-numbers, cliched biopic film, because I think Queen and Freddie Mercury especially deserved more than that. Overall, I'd give this movie, I'll give it a B. I would say B minus, but Rami Malek just elevated my grade up, and so did all those, like I mentioned, those moments where they perform, choreographed, and those parts elevated my grade up. But other than that, it's not a great film, but it is a good one. And so he's the main reason to go see it, Rami Malek. And would I recommend you all go see it? Yes. If you're a fan of Queen, or if you just want to have a good time at the movies, then you should definitely go and see this movie. Just don't expect a great, like A grade movie. Expect like I said, a B movie. And I hope when Oscar season comes along that Rami Malek gets recognized for his role as Freddie Mercury, because he so deserves it. So if you want to go out and you want to be rocked up, then we will rock you if you go and see this movie. That was terrible anyway, so we should move on quickly there. So the last movie that was in wide release November the 2nd was Nobody's Fool, rated R. It stars Tika Sumpter, Tiffany Haddish, Omari Hardwick, and Whoopi Goldberg, and was written and directed by Tyler Perry, who brought you all of the Medea films. And Tyler Perry, what are we going to do with you? I mean, he's a great financial success, I'll give him that, but every movie that he's made has been like mediocre at best and terrible at worst. I mean, no real winners there. So Nobody's Fool is about a woman named Danica, played by Tika Sumpter, and she's living the good life in her adult years. She lives in an upscale apartment, and every morning she goes to get coffee at the local coffee place that's owned by Frank, played by Omari Hardwick. And he's good looking, and he runs his own business. He's perfect in every way, except she's not interested in him. And so she goes to work at her company where she's working really hard, and she hopes to be the first black woman VP at her company. And if that's not great, she's also in an online relationship with a guy named Charlie for the past year. And here's the thing, though. She's never seen Charlie because he lives on an oil rig, apparently, and there's no good reception there, so he can't really Skype her. And she thinks he's the perfect guy who matches everything on her list. Yeah, she's got a list for the perfect guy, like good-looking, tall, dark, handsome, perfect job, never been to jail, blah, blah, blah. He matches up everything, even though she's never seen him. And it's all going good for her. And then one day she gets a call from her mother, Lola, played by Whoopi Goldberg in a bad wig. And Lola, she grows her own cannabis and she gets high sometimes. And she tells her, hey, your sister Tanya, she's getting out today of prison. What? Out of prison? Yeah, can you get her? When? Honey, when? It's prison. You get there when you can, like the song. And so Danica has to go get her sister Tanya, played by Tiffany Haddish. I love her. And when she gets there, in typical Tanya form, she wonders, where is she? She's in some guy's van, getting on. Boom, boom, this van's a rockin', don't come a knockin'. I'm getting me some ass. I've been locked up there so long, I miss what it feels like to have a guy in me. Yep, that's Tanya. Yes, Tiffany Haddish plays her great. So Danica begrudgingly has to take her sister back to her apartment to live with her and help her get to her AA meetings and help her get a job so she can get her own place. Basically, Tanya's like that one family member that comes in and disrupts your perfect life. We all know that family member, right? Everyone's got one like that. And so she helps to get Tanya a job at the coffee place with Frank. On my application next to sex, what should I put? Well, what do you want to put? Plenty. Tiffany Haddish is such a hoot, isn't she? And so, of course, she comes in and disrupts Danica's perfect life. At one point, Danica talks about her boyfriend, Charlie. Who's Charlie? Oh, he's this guy I've been seeing online for a year. Wait a minute, you never seen him? Nope. Wait a minute, something ain't right here. I think you're being catfished. Catfished? Yeah, someone out there who pretends to be someone else, but then they're actually someone else. And so Tanya calls up the hosts of the show Catfish, Nev Schulman and Max Joseph playing themselves. And they confirm what everyone's been thinking besides Danica. Yep, you're being catfished. This is some other guy. What? We gotta go down and track down this guy. And so they gotta track down and see if, Charlie really is she's being catfished by some other guy, and it's not Charlie that doesn't exist, or does he? We don't know yet. And all the while, Frank, who is that great guy, he's a single father and he owns his own business, and he went to jail a couple years ago, but it was only for a month or so. And so he doesn't really check off all the things on Danica's list of the perfect guy. And all the while, could this other guy maybe be the guy I'm meant to be with, even though I'm not really all that interested because he doesn't match everything on my list? I mean, picky girl. And of course, the movie drags on from there. It doesn't really know to go from there. And overall, just like other Tyler Perry movies, this movie is very disjointed. I mean, it's got so many plots in one. I mean, if they had just focused on like the bad sister disrupting the one sister's life, that would have been a great movie in itself. But then they had this whole catfishing angle and this other guy, and her sister's trying to get on with her life, and then she's trying to find a new guy in her life, and it's like all these different plot lines, are all sloppily put together. I mean, the way to describe Tyler Perry's direction, it's kind of like if you took a TV show and then you took many pieces from each of those episodes and then put them together into one movie. It feels episodic and it feels like it's never ending and like one plot point to another and without a focus. But I will say, though, the MVP and probably the only good part of this movie, Tiffany Haddish. I mean, once again, she steals the movie. And she's hilarious, she's loud and in your face, and I mean, she's one of those people that just, you can't help but laugh because of how silly and ridiculous she is, and she owns her role as always, and once again, after that movie Night School, she's picking these bad projects. I mean, come on, girl, pick good scripts that are worthy of your talent, that you're not the one, only the reason that anyone should go see the movie. It should be more than that, but anyway, I mean, the actors do the best they can with this lame material they're given. I mean, poor Frank, played by Omari Hardwick. I mean, the guy's just trying to, wants to be with Danica, but she's not letting him have it. And they, sleep together. It's like, oh, I guess you're not what I'm looking for. It's like, what? How can you sleep with me and just knock me to the side? And then there's like 30 more minutes of movie. And then there's another guy that may have been the real Charlie. We don't know. And then again, goes back to Frank. It's like so confusing. It's like, girl, get your crap together here. And Whoopi Goldberg shows up stoned a couple scenes, and overall, my grade for this movie, I would give a C-. I would go much lower in the D territory, but Tiffany Haddish once again raised my grade up. But just like any other Tyler Perry movie, it's just not worth it. And I really hope that Tiffany Haddish finds that script one day that's worthy of her talents. Do I recommend you all go see it? No. And as I'm doing this review, most of the theaters, it's not playing there anymore, and for good measure. It's just not worth it. If you want to see a good movie with Tiffany Haddish, just wait for that one to come out. It's not this one, though, so don't bother. You're welcome, people. Moving on. I'm now going to proceed with the recap. Don't stop me now. Recap. The Nutcracker and the Four Realms. C+. A visually stunning, auspicious version of the Nutcracker that's let down by a weak script and underdeveloped characters. Unless you're a fan of the Nutcracker, I don't know if I can recommend this one. Shame. Bohemian Rhapsody. B. Despite great musical numbers and a career-defining performance by Rami Malek, it's still a standard cliche by-the-numbers biopic film about Freddie Mercury and Queen. Even though I think they deserved a better film, I still recommend that you all go see this if you want a good time at the movies. And finally, Nobody's Fool, C-. Despite a hilarious performance by Tiffany Haddish, it's just another Tyler Perry movie with sloppy direction, sloppy editing, and not that many laughs either. Until Tiffany Haddish finds a better movie for herself, I can't recommend this one at all. Ugh. And that'll do it for a Bohemian edition of Jeffrey Michaels Movie Reviews Extravaganza. Until next time, happy movie watching, everybody! Now, if you'll excuse me, I gotta go find somebody to love. See you next time.